Alright.
We're taking all the best old school wisdom and blending it with the top new school methods to bring you the optimal coaching strategies. This is the 80-20 Baseball Podcast with Coach Bo.
Welcome 80-20 baseball coaching community. Welcome youth baseball coaches and baseball coaches of all levels, because what we talk about here works at every level, but our discussion, of course, is centered around youth baseball and supporting youth baseball coaches / parents and players. So I'm not feeling it today. Now, of course, I'm always in the mood to talk baseball, specifically coaching, but I'm not feeling it in terms of my immune system. I got hit pretty good with a fever. It knocked me down for a couple days, and I'm back in the saddle trying my best to get a quality episode out to all of you great listeners. Speaking of listeners, I came across some podcast statistic page. I don't even know how I came across it. I wasn't looking. I just figure I put out a good quality podcast, keep improving it, listening to the audience, listening to you when you provide feedback, emails. I see the numbers going up consistently over the years. They've gone up year over year since this podcast was launched in late 2019. So I've never really gotten caught up in looking up a bunch of stats. And heck, I don't even market this podcast besides a few social media posts. Probably got to get better at that. But part of me thinks the coaches that find the podcast, like all of you, are the ones that are open-minded. You're willing to do a little searching, a little digging to find a podcast that can help you out. But nevertheless, I think I was doing a quick search for the website and to see how the search results came up for 8020baseball.com, and the second or third website on the list just below the 8020baseball.com part was a podcast tracker that tracks how well podcasts are doing in terms of listenership. And it said this podcast is in the 97th percentile of most popular podcasts in the world. Now, I know there are millions of podcasts, so that group is rather large. But hey, I guess it's a lot better being there than the stat I saw a few years back that 90% of podcasts don't get past their 5th episode. So we got that going for us, which is nice, those Caddyshack fans. So yeah, I've been under the weather, knocked down for a few days, and it got me thinking, I got greedy. I've been feeling great for years. Seems like I haven't been sick in the last couple years, which being a type 1 diabetic, even with good control, usually over the years I've been knocked down at least once a year. And I think I went my longest stretch without getting hit with something with a strong sickness. And I got greedy. Even before I got sick about a week ago, I was thinking, I'm not getting as much sleep as I need. And at the end of this podcast, I talk about taking care of ourselves so we can be the best coach, the best parent, the best person for our families and our teams that we can be, right? And I think I got a little out in front of my skis, or should I say a little out in front of the pitch. And I started cutting back on my sleep, working longer evenings after the family went to sleep, getting 6 hours of sleep, night after night. And I know some people can do that. I'm not one of those, especially with the type 1 diabetes. I need that 7 quality hours of sleep, ideally 8. And I got greedy and I paid the price. So with that said, it's a good reminder. Sometimes less is more when it comes to how many hours we spend awake. Better to spend 16 great hours, 16 quality hours awake than 18 or 19 hours of lesser quality. So anyways, I'll give it my best today. Glad to be here, pumped to be here. Episode 237, we got the top 5 coaching posts of the month, formerly known as the top 5 coaching tweets of the month. I have 2 fielding tips. One is to speed up the game, to really challenge our players safely on defense. And the other one actually slows down the game to allow for success and I guess more quality reps with regard to a particular part of defense. We'll talk about that. I'll share with you how the coaching mindset is related to flying in and out of Las Vegas. And if you've never flown in and out of McCarran Airport, I'll let you know. I'll describe that. For those of you that have, you might have an idea of where I'm going with that. I am trying to line up some really good interviews with some really high quality coaches that really relate and can connect with the youth baseball coaching world and can provide a lot of solid value and information. So I think this summer is going to have some really good interviews. All right, so let's dive in here. couple things, suggestions, ideas when you go out there to coach your players up on defense. And what I try my best to do is not give you a definitive, one way to do it, but I try my best to give you examples, things I've seen work really well, things that when you factor in first principles, will work across the board. And here are 2 recommendations for getting players better at fielding. One, I think I might have mentioned a long time ago, but that is getting some tennis balls and lining your kid or your team up in front of a fence or a wall. Get a tennis racket, not a baseball bat. Get a tennis racket and challenge them by hitting tennis balls. Try to get them by them. Keep score. Hopefully you don't have a whole team lined up with just one coach. That's going to take too long to get through. If you're going to do it with a team, you split it up, at least half the team doing something else, or it could be a station of 4 players. But if it's just you and your kid, if you have a couple kids, line them up in front of a wall, line them up in front of a fence, get far enough back where they actually have a chance to make a play, but really challenge them. And you're using a tennis ball here, so it's not going to hurt or do any damage. Worst case, it might leave a little red spot, but it's not going to bust any teeth. And we're not trying to hit the ball at the player, although some of them might go at the player. They have their glove. They're in a good ready position like they would be on defense. You make sure they're looking. They're ready to go like a pre-pitch setup. And then you hit the tennis ball at a speed that really challenges them. And if they're fielding more than half, in my opinion, that is too slow. The idea here is to speed up their reaction time. There is a trade-off, those of you that have used tennis balls for other drills. The tennis ball will have a tendency to pop out of the glove, but that's neither here nor there for this drill. This is something that really just speeds up reaction time. And you're training reaction times to be faster. This isn't what you're doing all your ground ball reps on or all your line drive reps on. This is just an extra part of the training that's safely using an implement such as a tennis ball that's about the same size as a baseball and a tennis racket, which are readily available. And it allows us as coaches or parents to go out there and challenge our kids by hitting the ball a lot faster than we could with a baseball. Over the years, I've done this, and if I would never think of hitting a baseball as hard as I hit the tennis balls at my players. Not in a million years. Now, a couple tips on this. I think you should get close enough where you can have some control of hitting the ball close enough to the player. What I like to do is I like to just set up 2 dome cones or just 2 cones or 2 gloves, 2 extra gloves that you have, and set those out anywhere from 10 to 15 feet apart and have the player in the middle. This isn't about covering ground left and right. This is about being quick with the glove. And in turn, this slows down the game. So everything in this drill should be faster than pretty much the fastest ground ball or line drive they're going to see during the season. I have seen this slow down the game a lot for players. The teams that I've done this with have more confidently fielded hard ground balls, line drives than they initially did during the season as we progressed through and did this more often. I usually tag this on as a part of practice after ground balls, or you could come back to it towards the end. You could stick it in somewhere in the middle of something. Shouldn't last more than 15 minutes. Again, there shouldn't be a whole team doing this at one time unless you have 2 coaches doing it. So get a couple old tennis rackets. I recommend having 3 tubes of tennis balls. Make sure the fence or the wall is pretty tall. Backstops work really well for this. Unless you're Pete Sampras, Ivan Lendl, Agassi, Courier, Ivanisevic, make sure you have a tall backstop or a tall fence or a tall wall so it's not consistently a game of fetch. And you can move back far enough where you can hit some hard 1-hoppers. Typically with a tennis ball, you're not hitting 2-hoppers. If you hit a 2-hopper, it's typically too slow. Sometimes it works out. That second hop's a short hop. You can get it close to them. But typically you're trying to hit some solid 1-hoppers and some line drives. And another positive benefit of doing this is getting our pitchers, and most youth players pitch at one time or another, getting them better at reacting to the line drive that's coming back at their face, coming back at them. This is the best way to train for that. In fact, coaching high school, college, pro ball, this should be done with all the pitchers. The problem with using a regular baseball is you can only hit it so fast. What I mean is you can only safely hit it so fast without seriously risking unnecessary injury during practice time by hitting it too hard. But with a tennis ball, such a low chance of risk. Now, Incrediballs, there's more risk there. Those Incrediballs are more dense. So those baseballs that are kind of in between a regular ball and a tennis ball, those Incrediballs that many of you are familiar with, those, I wouldn't risk it with those. I would use those for ground balls and hitting harder ground balls, but I wouldn't use it for this particular situation. This is an up close, 30 feet away, 40 feet away, hitting hard, one-hopper, line drives, and you're trying to hit it left and right, down to the left, down to the right, up a little to the left and right, and they're just ready to catch it or at least knock it down. Again, tennis balls have a tendency to pop out of a baseball glove, but the goal here is to speed up the reaction time. The goal is not to train them to catch the baseball perfectly. This is to get their glove fast enough so they have a chance to catch it. Now, I've talked about the tennis ball one before. I just dove into it some more here. Here's one that I'd like to throw out that I've never used, but I think it might have some merit. And I want somebody to try this out and tell me. We had some neighbors move in behind us and they put up a badminton net. And first couple days, they had the badminton net up. One of their birdies had come over. My kid goes out, throws it back over the fence. And of course, I don't care if that stuff comes in the backyard. God knows how many of my old baseballs or tennis balls are buried in some ivy or some bush, my old neighbors' backyards. But it got me thinking. My kid said, well, what is that sport? She saw the birdie and she saw the net. She said, what is that? So I got my laptop. I said, this is what it is, badminton. And you know what? It got me thinking, for youth baseball players, hitting fly balls that are, one, safe enough to catch. When I say youth baseball players, like more specifically for this, when you have 5, 6, 7-year-olds, even some 8-year-olds, and you're trying to get them some reps catching the ball coming down out of the air, catching something coming out of the air, it's hard to hit a fly ball that's challenging but safe. That's a really hard combo at that level. Now, you could do tennis balls. You probably should max out at Incrediballs for 5U, 6U, 7U when you're thinking catching fly balls where they're running and trying to catch it. And they have a hard enough time just catching the ball at that age. But it got me thinking, what if you got a pack of 25 badminton birdies, an old cheap racket, and you hit some badminton birdies to your players? I'll tell you what, I think some of you should test that out. I think that would work really well for that youth baseball level. It's definitely safe because if it bonks them right in the eyeball, it's not going to do anything, right? And I think this one could be fun, definitely safe. And when you think of the spread of a badminton hit, it doesn't have a big spread, right? If you hit the badminton birdie in a certain direction, it's going to end up in a similar area. I think this would be a way to get a lot of quick reps. Sure, it doesn't mimic the exact flight or a precise flight of a baseball, but it's something you could do like in the backyard also. Hey, I'm just throwing it out there. I just thought of this and I was thinking, well, I had the tennis ball tip coming up and I thought, well, what about having them get their glove out and catch that badminton birdie before it hits the ground? So have them set up in the ready position. You get however far away you need to be. The nice thing is you can't really overhit the birdie. You just kind of hit it and it ends up in a pretty similar area. Like I said, the range, the spread is not that great. Definitely not like hitting a baseball. If you miss hit a baseball, it could be 30, 40, 50 feet one way or the other. You miss hit a badminton birdie, it might be 10 feet one way or the other. So anyways, I'm not a big fan of having a million tricks, but I thought that might be something for those young kids that really just are learning how to catch, but a safe way to get them a lot of good reps with zero risk. That hand-eye coordination along with running. So a lot of the challenge with the fly ball is catching while running, catching while on the run. And so young players, 7-year-olds, 6-year-olds, it's hard enough to catch the ball standing still sometimes. Then you add some running into it. But if you have a birdie that's floating down, as most of you know with the badminton birdie, it floats down slower than a baseball, slower than a ball. It's designed to float down a little slower. It also allows for a higher chance of success for those young kids as they build up and improve their skills. Anyways, if you try it out before I do, send me an email. Let me know how that goes. Coach Bo at 8020baseball.com. Now let's go back real quick on the tennis ball drill. It's important that you preface that drill by saying, kids, players, you're going to fail a lot more doing this than you do in our typical ground ball drill or typical ground ball routines. And that's okay. The idea on this is to get the game to feel a lot slower so you can be a lot more successful and react a lot faster in the games. So just preface it by saying expect to fail more right now so you can succeed more in the upcoming games. All right, before we get into the top 5 coaching posts of the month, when you're flying into Vegas airport, you just know to expect turbulence. You just expect it. You just know that there's going to be a decent amount of turbulence, almost always. I'm sure there are days and flights that come in real smooth. But relative to a lot of other airports in the United States, from what I understand, Vegas consistently has more turbulence coming in and out, probably due to the heat and the temperature change and things like that. I don't know exactly why, but I do know this. Every time I've ever flown into Vegas, there's been a decent amount of turbulence, sometimes quite a bit. In fact, about a year and a half ago, I was flying in there and the plane dropped suddenly and, nobody got hurt, but it was a nice little drop. Kind of reminded me of Six Flags. So now why am I bringing up McCarran International Airport in Las Vegas? coaches, it's very important that we set our expectations so that we are expecting turbulence during the season. Coaches, we should be ready for some turbulence. We should not be surprised when we have turbulence during the season. Maybe with a player, a group of players, parents. We should be ready. Also, by expecting turbulence, we'll probably be more motivated or inclined to look to prevent it, to be on front of it. It's important that we go into a season as coaches just expecting some turbulence. Don't expect a smooth season. I guess that's a good mindset to have for every day. Don't expect smooth days. A mindset of don't be surprised. Don't be surprised when we have to pivot, things change. Obviously, consistency and things like that, predictability can be calming for kids. But I think the mindset of expect turbulence, don't be surprised, be ready for it. You're flying into Vegas. You're flying out of Vegas. There's going to be turbulence, all right? When you're coaching a team, when you're leading a team, whether that's a youth baseball team or at work, expect some turbulence. I think this will motivate us to preemptively address it. But at a minimum, it'll allow us to quickly pivot. It'll prime the mindset so we're not caught off guard and we're ready for it. Don't be surprised when there's some turbulence. So I think that's a really good mindset piece. And I'm big on those mindset pieces, those operating system pieces, those overarching things that can help everywhere with coaches. So coaches, treat the season when you're going into it, whether that's summer ball that's coming up, Legion ball, fall ball, next spring, expect turbulence. And I would recommend you expect a decent amount of turbulence. Have a contingency plan for things. Think about how you can smooth out that turbulence before you get to it. And just don't expect smooth seasons. Very unlikely that a smooth season will play out. All right, let's wrap it up with top 5 X posts of the month. This is definitely the most diverse list of any top 5. And you all know me too well. I have more than 5. Can never narrow it down. I know. I can narrow down a practice plan and I'm good with leaving things out. But man, I get pumped up when I read some of these things. So with that said, the first one comes from Baseball's Greatest Moments at BB Great Moments. That's the account. They quoted Derek Jeter. I don't care how good you are or how good you think you are, you're going to fail. That's a quote from Derek Jeter. Now, this is a great message for players, and I think it's important how you convey it, how you share it. You don't want players to think it's all doom and gloom and they have no chance and it's hopeless and they're assured failure. But we also want them to know that, hey, even one of the greatest of all time, like Derek Jeter, is saying, hey, I don't care how good you are, how good you think you are. Hey, you're going to fail. That's coming from a Hall of Famer, one of the greatest to ever put on a baseball glove, pick up a baseball bat, step on the field. He's like, hey, you're going to fail. Now, he isn't saying that you're going to fail every at-bat or you're going to fail on every ground ball. What he's saying is there will be moments of failure in a game, throughout the season. It's inevitable, no matter how great you are. There will be moments of failure. Be ready for it. Kind of like the turbulence in and out of McCarran. Be ready for it. You're priming players so they're not surprised when they have a little failure. You're also resetting their expectations so they're more rooted in reality and so they're more aligned with reality. What a great way to live life. Find a way to align your expectations with reality. That's quite the task, but definitely a good goal. The next one, the second top coaching post of the month on X. This comes from The Sport Parent, at The Sport Parent. And this is for coaches, but really parents of youth players. One day you'll wake up and there won't be anyone left to take to practice. Wow. And I think the message here is when you had a long day of work, when you're not feeling well, you're having some struggles in different areas of your life, you're not feeling it, going to practice. I think this attitude or this reminder here can really help kind of straighten us out a little bit, kind of level us off. One day we'll wake up and there won't be anyone left to take to practice. So I think that helps slow things down and helps us enjoy the moment more than we otherwise would. All right, post number 3 of our top coaching posts of the month of May. This one comes from John Gordon. He's a well-known author. John Gordon, at John Gordon 11, said, quote, "You possess the greatest power in the universe, the power to impact the life of another human being," end quote. Now I'm going to paraphrase this. As coaches, we possess the great responsibility, one of the greatest responsibilities in the universe. As coaches, we have the power to impact the life of a young human being, somebody who can be steered down the right path in life. It's hard to steer older people down that path, a little more hardened in the ways. But as coaches, and I'm paraphrasing this a little bit, we possess the greatest opportunity in the universe, and that's the power to impact the life of another human being. These youth players to be better people, to be better human beings, and even better baseball players. Number 4, this one comes from Greg McKeown. I don't know if I'm saying that. It's at Gregory McKeown. He's a really well-known author. It has nothing to do with baseball. He wrote the book Essentialism. I highly recommend reading that. He's got a couple books out. I think they're just game changers to help us be better people, better parents, better coaches, and better at our jobs. And Greg said, simplify to amplify. Reduce the trivial to enhance the essential. Kind of sounds like the 80-20 principle, huh? Simplify to amplify. Reduce the trivial to enhance the essential. All right, the next one by Ray Birmingham. Now I'll say this, these next two are a little bit more on the humor side. I like to laugh. I like comedy. Outside of Guy Ritchie movies, I'll take a comedy over any other genre. I love going to the improv. I love going to the comedy spots. I love funny people. I love laughing. Who doesn't, right? So I got to throw in a couple here that I thought the first one's really funny and the second one really hits home and is so true and it'll make you probably smile if you're around my age. So this next one is from Ray Birmingham, at Birmingham Ray, coach out of the New Mexico area. He posted a meme with a little pug that's laying there looking all sad. So it's got this pug just kind of laying there looking all down and out. And it said, Greg Maddux got a dog when he retired. Still hasn't been walked yet. If you know, you know. That one had me laughing. Well written. All right, the next one will hit home if you play ball in the 80s and 90s. It comes from Kent Murphy, at Kent Murphy. The best 30 seconds of flavor you'll ever experience. And it has a picture of Big League Chew bubblegum. Oh man, that couldn't be more spot on. Although 30 seconds I think is a little bit of an exaggeration. I feel like that first 14 seconds of Big League Chew was the best flavor ever. And then by about the 20-second mark, it tasted like you were chewing up cut up rubber bands. But that's definitely a good one for all of you old school Big League Chew bubblegum fans. The best 30 seconds of flavor you'll ever experience. That post by Kent Murphy. All right, the last one. This one comes on the heels of Memorial Day. This one's from Gene Chizik, coached at Auburn University, college football coach. I believe he was recently with North Carolina University. And he posted this one with regard to Memorial Day, which I know was about a week ago. He said, today we enjoy our day at the beach, our picnics, our cookouts. Let's remember the brave men and women who fought and died so we could enjoy that freedom. Freedom isn't free. And then it's a meme with a picture on the top that says your day at the beach. And it's got a beach in today's time, easy ups, umbrellas, kids playing in the water, people out sunbathing, your typical picture of a beach full of people enjoying themselves on a Saturday in today's time. And then on the bottom, it says, brought to you by their day at the beach. And it shows Marines and U.S. military storming the beach at Normandy. And I thought, wow. That's a message. Your day at the beach brought to you by their day at the beach. So I thought that was a good one. I couldn't let that one slide. I don't think our gratitude towards freedom and to those who served had a statute of limitations. Next week, I'm going to discuss coaching at practice and coaching at the game and how that needs to align and why it's so important for it to align if we want to be the best coach we can be. And I'm also going to share what I think is a great example that we could share with our players about something that's been happening over the past month about a player who literally was booed by his own fans. And then within a month, he's leading the league in pretty much every offensive stat. And now he's getting standing ovations. And I'll tie this in with a message we can give to our players because the mental game is so important when it comes to sports and life. And giving these examples and highlighting these examples can really illuminate where we want our players and our kids to go with their mindset, their mental game. So I tried my best to bring it this week. Head over to 8020baseball.com, get that free drill design guide. Got a lot of articles over there, videos, just more stuff to be a better coach. Email me your thoughts. Reach out, say hi, Coach Bo at 8020baseball.com. You can also go through the contact page on the website. And until next week, everyone, take care of yourselves. Hey, take care of that health. Let's take care of those foundations so we can be there for our family, our close friends, and we can be better coaches for our kids and for our teams. All right, everyone, you take care. Till next week, adios.
This has been the 80-20 Baseball Masterclass. Take it to the field.